Hello, I'm Best Guy, and welcome to Best Top 5. Today we're going to be talking about the Halloween franchise. The Halloween franchise has been around since 1978. There's some good movies and there's some bad movies in this franchise. Today we're concentrating only on the very worst. For number 5, it is Halloween, the Rob Zombie remake, which came out in 2007. And there's a lot of people out there who actually legitimately like this movie. I don't. I think there's certain things in this movie that are good, but most of it just doesn't work. Mainly the fact that we get an explanation as to why Michael kills, what makes him tick, so to speak, and it just doesn't work. John Carpenter has mentioned himself that the reason why this remake didn't work is because you explained why Michael is evil. In the original film, the reason why it's scary is because you really don't understand it. There's a certain mystery and certain evil force of nature that drives Michael that doesn't need to be explained. I do give some credit to Rob Zombie for being a little original and not doing a complete scene-by-scene remake, but this movie has not aged very well. I've watched it recently, and it just isn't good. It really feels like just another Rob Zombie movie, and the fact that Michael grew up in a redneck family, somehow that's supposed to explain why he's evil, just doesn't work for me. At number 4, it is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This came out in 1989, and it was a direct sequel to Halloween 4, and this movie, if you've seen Halloween 4, you know that the ending of Halloween 4 shows the character of Jamie killing her stepmother, or injuring her stepmother, as they explain in Halloween 5, and they don't pick up from that story. Instead of picking up, showing her becoming evil, she just becomes a mute. And for the majority of the movie, she's just in bed, seeing visions of Michael Myers killing other people. And there's the most obnoxious character in this movie by the name of Tina, who just doesn't listen to reason. Every time a character explains to her, don't go here, don't do this, she just does the opposite because she's just the carefree teenager who needs to be killed in the movie. The only good thing I can give about Halloween 5 is Donald Pleasence, who returns again playing the character of Sam Loomis, even though in this movie he's a little more crazy and more over the top, and it makes me think as to how does the character of Sam Loomis pay bills? I mean, Michael is his only patient. He's completely obsessed with him. But other than that, this movie is just not very good. And there's certain comedy elements that they added to the movie. The director, Dominic Ofenen-Gerard, who I think directed another horror movie before. I don't remember the title. But he's just not a very competent director here. Everything just doesn't fit. There's a scene where two characters were cops. They're supposed to be doing this like comedic thing, and they put these like zany, over-the-top musical notes in the background that just doesn't fit with the movie. Also, Ellie Cornell, who plays the stepsister of Jamie, returns in this movie, and somehow she's just completely different from the character she was in Part 4. Instead of actually being scared, she's just very carefree, as if nothing happened in Part 4, as if the events of Part 4 never took place. So for number 3, we have Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, I am aware that there is a producer's cut of this movie. I am mentioning here the theatrical version. I will talk briefly about the producer's cut, but let's talk about the theatrical version. Released in 1995, it stars Donald Pleasence again playing Dr. Sam Loomis, and you have the debut of Paul Rudd playing the kid from Part 1, who's now in his 20s, and he is hunting Michael Myers, and he's convinced he's still alive, and that Jamie is in danger. This movie went through a lot of rewrites and it had a production hell, and you can tell there's a lot of reshoots. Donald Pleasence passed away before the reshoots, and you can tell that they reworked the movie around him because certain scenes just don't fit. The movie is poorly edited. They use this really crazy way of editing the film to make it more fast-paced, and they removed a lot of scenes of Donald Pleasence because the director, Joe Chappelle, I believe is his name, he felt that Donald Pleasence was a really bad actor. Really. So much for this guy's career, Joe Chappelle, which I've never seen another film from him, so it tells you how much he knows about the late and great actor Donald Pleasence. Now, the producer's cut, which was released recently, legitimately, on Blu-ray, and I say legitimately because from the past it was released bootleg, and it was just a fan cut. But now we have a real producer's cut, and it is a much better movie. It's still problematic, but it at least makes sense. They re-add the cult story into it, so I would recommend that you check out the producer's cut. But the theatrical cut makes it into my number 3 worst Halloween film. Number 2 is Halloween 2. Not the original, but the remake that was released in 2009, also directed by Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie is an interesting director. I only think he has one good movie, and that's The Devil's Rejects. And I know people who don't even like that movie. And this movie is directed very much like all his other films. It's interchangeable. It's very crazy, over the top. The story takes place, I think, 2 or 3 years after the first film. It starts right where it picked off, but then it jumps like a couple of years later. Michael is a hobo, and he literally looks like a hobo. For the most part, he is not wearing a mask. And I didn't mind that. I actually did not mind that, because when you kind of think about it, if Michael Myers is in the wilderness, wherever he is, just surviving or waiting to find Jamie, not Jamie, in this movie it's Laurie, then he would probably be a hobo. But the problem with this movie is this whole story with a white horse and visions of his mother, and Dr. Loomis is played this time by the actor from Clockwork Orange. What's his name? Malcolm McDowell. He plays Dr. Loomis, and he did a fine job in the first remake, but in this one he plays a completely different character that I can't relate to. He plays an asshole. He takes the events from the first film and starts selling a book. He just is not sympathetic. He's not helping anybody in this story. And you can say he kind of redeems himself in the last 2 minutes, but for nothing. It's a really poorly directed movie. But what can be possibly worse than Halloween 2? Well, my number one is Halloween Resurrection. Released in 2002 as a direct sequel to Halloween H2O, the directors decided, and spoilers if you haven't seen this movie, not that you should, we find out that Jamie Lee Curtis's character of Laurie Strode in Halloween H2O did not kill Michael Myers, but instead killed someone else, a paramedic, that Michael Myers grabbed the jumpsuit, put him on it, and apparently she killed a random guy. It's a really stupid decision to have done this in killing Jamie Lee Curtis's character at the beginning of the film. I'm presuming that they probably killed her off because Jamie Lee Curtis asked to be killed off. You know what it is to be named, top, horror queen for so many years. I guess she wants to move into something else. It's understandable. The rest of the movie is just really bad. It's really just a bunch of kids in a house, Michael Myers' house, that looks nothing like the house from part 1. It looks slightly better than the house from part 5. I didn't mention that in Halloween 5, the house looks like a mansion. It's just a small little house in part 1. But here in H2O, in Resurrection, these kids are coming in doing a webcam series, and the host is Busta Rhymes. And Busta Rhymes does kung fu with Michael Myers. He comes in and he says, "Trick or treat, motherfucker!" Classic lines. And then after he defeats him, he says, while picking up the girl, "Yo, Mikey, happy fucking Halloween!" Classic lines. And then after he gets electrocuted, Michael that is, he goes up to him and saying, "Yo, Mikey, looking kind of crispy there." Classic lines. That's why it's number 1. Worst movie of all time in the Halloween franchise. It was so bad that it took up until 2007 to get the remake, which wasn't that great anyway. So this are the top 5 worst Halloween movies in the Halloween franchise. Is there a movie here that you think should have been on this list? Please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm Vest Guy, and this is Vest Top 5, and until next time, make sure to click the like button and subscribe.